Hey Woodturners, I'm Captain Eddie. Welcome to my shop. I have a little project for us today, and this one's going to happen on Layzilla. I'd like to turn a bowl, a small bowl, and put flutes through the center or on the inside, completely fluted out, and then lay it in with some gold leaf. I picked Cocobolo because it's absolutely gorgeous. We're going to put a little dye on a Cocobolo, a little aniline red dye, to bring the color out a little bit more. Maybe some ink blended in it, just because I want it to pop a little bit. And it's Mexican Cocobolo, which doesn't get the dark red a lot of times, and it gets some light orange streaks. What you see right now is the example I really wanted to find for you. This cutter is cutting below center, and we end up leaving a little tip in there. You see the little tip that's in there? Well, to get that out, I need to bring the cutter up a slight bit. So I break the tool post loose and let the cutter creep up just a little bitty bit and tighten it back down. This really, let me get out to where you saw what I was doing. Gonna get something out of the way here. There we are. Yeah, that'll help. This is a standard tool post for machine work. Now, I'm reaching above it because of the way the cutter's set up and all. And eventually I'll lower the table and then or raise the table another quarter inch or so, and I'll be within the range of the cutter. It's a brand new rig, and it's a little bit different than what I was using. Now that I have set it, we go back to cutting. And we cut and see if we can eliminate that nub in the center. I think we did. We bring it all the way in. This is a piece of Cocobolo that was laying on the floor in the shop. I think I retired this past week. I think so. We're going to test it and see how it works. And I want to get to cleaning this place up. Now let me show you. Yeah, don't get too scared. I'm not believing the cleanup thing either. Now we are crashing exactly dead center. And that makes a lot of difference when we get all the way to the bottom. Way up in the top, just putting the flutes on, you'll notice a little something, but not a lot. And I just double stuck tape that on there. And take a closer look at it. What you want to see, get it where it's at. You want to see these lines. Here we are. Trying to get it in this target. You want to see these lines go all the way across and not step up or step down. I'm having to shoot this from halfway across the room because of the camera layouts that we've been locked into with the changes we made. You think that'll go in the trash? Heck no. It's a good piece of Cocobolo. That's when you really want to retire my happy butt. I'm going to go in and get started on making a cut and drive outward. Let me explain to you. If I cut to one side, I get smooth bumps with sharp dips. If I cut to the other side, I get sharp bumps with smooth dips. You think it makes a difference? It will in a look. We're going to go full width for the cut before we start going in, because of the size of the end of this bar. This is from David Lindau White. It's a good cutter bar, and I'm powering this with a 1/2 horsepower motor from a Jet Mini lathe. I want to show you that. Let me explain the system. See that motor back there? That's a 1/2 horsepower Jet Mini replacement motor. I've got a drive for it, not using it, going self-powered. That's the overhead bracket. That bracket was made so that if the belt fails or jumps off or whatever, the motor doesn't hit the floor. This is built a day at a time, a piece at a time. Behind that light are the 2 wheels that come down to the cutter. That's what you're looking at. Now, all of this was put together over a period of 6 or 7 years. The technology for this is not new. In fact, it's very old. And if you'd like to build one of these lathes, I'll be glad to give you the plans if you give a $20 donation to Freedom Pens. You can do it on my website. This is not extremely exciting wood turning. In fact, for the next half an hour or so, all I will do is turn the crank, driving this plate that way and then into it. Now, I can save a lot of time on this by roughing in the bowl on a conventional lathe, then leaving a wall thick, coming over here and detailing it out. But I wanted to show you how it starts out. Oh, and this, another one of my dust avoidance systems. See what's happening? The dust is being pushed out, over it, the back, and out of the way. Because I can't really figure out how to put a dust collector right here and not get in the way. As we get closer to the bottom of the piece, I'm not only going in, I'm also going towards the center with the drive wheel. So every revolution, I go in a quarter, or I'm sorry, an eighth, and I come out an eighth. That way I make a nice sweep as I go to the bottom. I'll clean up that bottom. It's been pretty good cutting. It's been, 20 minutes or so. Paint has dried and grass has grown in the meantime. Making the final passes. You can see all that's left in the center is the star, and I'll be taking that out. Ornamental turning, you move the wood to a cutter, but the cutter is what you drive. When I drive this cutter, I'm moving this is a phase 2 ornamental slide. I'm turning a quarter turn, that means I'm moving at a 1/40 of an inch. And that's enough not to get any ribboning on or grooves on the piece. If I were to turn a full rotation, which the cutter will cut, then I'll end up with lines between the cuts. Don't want that. They do make even better cross slides. I just hadn't gotten around to buying one that's got a much finer tooth on it and it's much easier to adjust. another 1/20 of an inch or so, I'll be done with this part of it. Then I'll remove it from this lathe and put it back on a conventional lathe. I'm probably going to have to come up with a block for it to slip on that I can tape it to and go ahead and dress off the outside. We continue on. I've been playing with this for about 5 minutes with that gouge, and I pretty much have a good shape to it. I'm going to take a simple scraper. Now I could take a scraper, or I could get into it with my 18mm carbide. I roll it up on the edge to make a softer cut. And scrape that final shape in. I can feel some irregularities. This removes those irregularities very nicely. I'm going to show you something. I've probably done this 20 times in videos to explain to folks. I might not feel a flat spot. My eye will go there when I put a finish on it. So to check for a flat spot, I do this. I roll a pencil around it. And I will feel a flat spot with my fingers rolling it around. I can get this tailstock out the way if I wanted to and just roll it around. And there's the flat spot right there. I stopped a little bit early. It's at the top. That probably won't hurt, but it'll bother me, so I'm going to roll it out a little bit more. Remember, a flat spot will catch the finish. It'll catch your eye, and it'll catch the eye of the beholder. So you don't really want a flat spot in a curve. That's why it's being called a curve. I'm going to go over to my little 3/4 inch Sears. You can feel it as you walk it away. Right there. Why did I pick this one? Because this has a bevel. Can you see the shiny spot on that bevel? I'm rubbing that bevel and just tuning it on just a little bitty bit. That's how that tool is sharpened. What I have now, I've removed the tail, the soft touch from the back end. And I'm going to knuckle my camera gizmo back a little bit, get you in a better position. Bear with me. And I think you'll see more of what's going to happen from right here. Yeah. Now I need to fix this bottom. If I take a multi-tool, come in here and just go right across the bottom, with it being on this block, I'll probably knock it loose. So I have to do some slicing rather than some scraping. To do the slicing, this is a D-Way 3/8 inch FG grind gouge. This is made by D-Way Tools. You can see it right there on the label. D-Way Tools, made in the USA, high-speed steel. Dave is a wood turner. Wood turner tools by wood turners. Novel idea. Now, I've got this retouched with the Eversera, Ellie Eversera, and Ellsworth grind. To explain that a little bit, I need to find a pencil. Now, to explain that a little bit, this big grind right here, up on the top, that's the Ellsworth grind, 247. If you don't understand that, send for the tip sheet and it'll be on there, 247. Then, on the Blackhawk, there's a second step that removes this excess material down here. I don't need this material, and when I'm doing really fine small cuts, that material may get in my way when I make a corner. So with that in mind, I created a jig, a button on, or a position on my Blackhawk that sharpens it automatically. I'm about a 1/16 of an inch high. Got to get in the right spot, don't be reaching. And I'm doing it this way because I'm applying pressure to the piece by rubbing the bevel. Can you see what's happening? Oh, I need to move some lights, huh? That help? Nope. That help? Nope. Got one more back here. There you go. I'm reading the bevel way out here. Then I turn the tool, and I go in. Read the bevel, turn the tool, push away. Little bitty fine cuts. Too heavy a cuts and I'll knock it off. If I rub the bevel too hard, I'll get some chatter. Gotta make sure it's cut. Now, that's cut. I'm gonna go this over here, flip around. You can see it now. I'll cut from the center out. It's a nice little 1/8 inch cavity for a foot. I have to very gently, remember this keyword, gently, I have to hold this and clean off this bottom. I'm holding this because the slightest catch just now would have knocked it off. Well, I'm cleaning up that bottom. That inside corner is not real clean, so I'm going to clean it too. One of my signature marks when I put my name on a piece is a ring or two on the bottom. Not totally necessary, but a nice touch if you're signing the piece. This outside of this piece is now ready for sanding. I'm going to go down to 150 grit and start with 150 and clean it up. I'm going to stay away from the sharp edge here and from messing up my rounded over corner down here. I'm going to take it all the way to 320 dry, just like this. Then 320 to 800, I'm going to go wet or with sanding wax. Depends on how I feel when I get there. Wet works just as well for me. I don't have any aversion to water getting down in my lathe. and I'm smart enough not to spin the lathe real fast to fling it off. But it really makes sandpaper last a long time going wet. You know, Vince Wells wishes I didn't tell you that, because he's in the business of selling sandpaper, but he's also a wood turner, so he understands the deal. If you can avoid killing materials, you get to do more wood turning. Right? Right. Okay, I'm glad we all agree. Now, I'm going to sand this out. Then we'll talk finish. Oh no, wait. Before we talk finish, I'm going to take my NSK and put my name and my initials and the date down in here. Let me tell you what turns me off when I pick up a beautiful piece of wood turning. One of these branding iron marks on the bottom of the piece. My feeling is, guys, wood turners, if you're not proud enough of your work to take a few minutes and purposely put your name in the bottom of it, either with a document writer, an NSK, a Dremel tool, or anything else, well, I didn't want to say anything bad, so let's just leave it at that. As you're joining me again, I'm coming up on, well, I'm in a 400 grit. I opted to go wet all the way. I just worry about dust from some of the exotics. And going wet literally eliminates all those dust problems. Gives me a nicer finish too. Now one thing, that's a 400 grit. I'm going to change and go to some 600 selfage or Siasoft in a minute. But between coats, between grits, you have to wash down. If you don't, you leave a rock from the 180 and carry it to the 220. Leave the rock when you go to 320. Leave the rock when you go to 400. Somewhere along the line, you're still sanding with a rock from 180. This is Siasoft. It's a foam back product. Vince Welsh at Vince's Wooden Wonders. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to put his website up for a reference. If you need help on any of these products, call Vince. He'll take your calls. Now that's one man that can talk sandpaper. You're not talking to a catalog service. You're talking to the man. And don't want to forget that edge over there. I felt a piece of trash come off of it just now. There it is. And that would be, you can't see it, I'm trying to capture it. Those are parts and pieces of something that's rubbing into the grain, into the wood as I'm polishing. So I want to make sure that my sandpaper's clean. Put a cleanup pass. This also can happen on dry sanding, so don't think, hey, I'm not going to be doing that, it'll be alright. I learned that, I'm sorry to say, I'm proud to say, 50 years ago in a cabinet shop. Dusting brush between coats, between grits, was mandatory. That's pretty good, that's 600. I think I'd like to see how it looks at 6. So I'm going to dry it off and take a harder look at it. Sanded to 800 wet, and I applied 1 coat of Deft sanding sealer. But I want this puppy to shine like a diamond, because that's what's really going to make this thing stand out. So I've got some shine juice here. This is the OB shine juice. That's the formula's in on my website, and it was on recently on one of my newsletters. And my newsletters are available on my website. Homepage down on the bottom. You can click February, March, April. Now, what you're going to see, I'm putting this on with a piece of tissue paper, but I want you to see what's happening here. I do a flood coat, work it in. You're going to love what's going to happen to this piece in about 2 or 3 minutes. And since this is about as exciting as growing grass, we're going to break away for a moment, and I'll be back when I build up the coat. You want to do that? No, come on. You want to see this happen, don't you? You see what I'm doing? I put a coat of sealer on, right? You see the gloss. I'm looking at the monitor now and you're seeing what I'm seeing. That was applied at about 300, 400 RPMs. This is about 650 or 700. At a point, you see the transfer stop. You know, when you move the cloth around, you no longer see the transfer happening. You're past the flood coat and you're into buffing. I'm glad I kept you with me, because I'm going to show you. This pad is getting rather warm. I'm not going to burst into flames or anything, but you never can tell. And now there is no transfer. What I am doing is polishing the shellac using the lubricant, which is the linseed oil, because the alcohol is completely gone. Now, come on up. I'm not going to stop it because I don't want you to think I did something. Do you see what I have there? I can wave at you from Canal Street and you'd see it. Now, there are some holidays in it. What I'm going to do is rub it in, a little side-to-side action, do a little light transfer. I'll get that off later because it was sticking a little bit. And I'll buff it with one of these pads from Vince Welsh. This is, I think, 1,000 grit. But not today. That's tomorrow morning's work. And this thing will shine like a diamond. Let's see how to put this. Time passed. I waited a couple hours and then I buffed it off using a Scotch pad. This just removed a little bit, took the tissue off and stuff, but it has firmed up a good bit since then. It's ready for another good burning in or another rubbing in. And to do that, again, I take a paper towel. There's no real magic to this. And with the speed being about 800 RPMs, I'm going to put some on a pad and start working it in. Now, folks say, how do you do this? Or why do you do this with the lathe running? Because I need the friction of the pad against the wood and a lathe. This is friction polish, lapping polish. It's one of the oldest finishes that's still in use today. The oldest would be just in oil. And oils work really good, but this is actually relying on the oil of the linseed oil and the shellac to do this. If you want to know if I'll do this all over again and explain it, the very next video in the series will be another bottom or another piece of wood done with the OB shine juice. Again, time has passed. I've applied about 3 more coats or rub-ins of the shine juice, and what I ended up with was an outstanding gloss and finish on the outside of this piece. Simply outstanding. And it will lend to the chatoyance or the cat's eye of the piece and really make it eye-catching. Now the interior, I've decided not to gild it. What I'm going to do is polish out the top edge with a little more shine juice, and then on the inside, because it's fluted like this, I'm going to coat it with Def Sealer, buff it out. When I buff it out, I use these little it's a little bristle brush or by 3M made for jewelry, and I will buff out the high points and get it smooth again, put the sealer on once or twice, and then I'll probably hand lap in some depth finish. I don't want to kill the inside of the finish. This is just a beautiful piece of Cocobolo. I think you'll really like this piece. I'm going to take it to a fair tomorrow, an art fair, and see if I can drum up a new gallery. You see, I got a little time on my hands now. So I'm going to get back to making shavings. You take care now. Ooh, I do like, you see the pattern on the inside? It's got a little bit of an echo to it. Yeah, a pattern can have an echo.